Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Hope you're all having a wonderful week. It is the beginning of our recaps for Europe. We had Qual 4 get down underway, top 16, battling it out. Straight into it and not waste any time as we got our top 16 competing. It is K-Corp, Team 3, BDS, Galaxy, Mates, Jobless, Vitality, so on and so forth. A couple things of note is obviously the roster changes. Luna Galaxy is without Stizzy as he goes to Dignitas. They now have got a Chronic and Xperi, with the Portuguese team being picked up with Luna Galaxy. Team 3 also changing. We got Noasaki coming in. Mates staying the same. All the top dogs staying the same. Jobless, which was the Moist roster, now has Ixo coming over from Oxygen because Oxygen stole Joyo from Moist. We'll talk a lot about them today. Grid Serve Resolve used to be that former Redemption team with Cash, Ivan, and Astral. They decided to keep Resolve as the sponsorship, with Raziers being their new third. And then some new faces, some that we haven't seen before, some rebuilds, you know, like Smokes joining from Endpoint, and some beef on the timeline between them and Resolve, and some wild stuff. If you guys didn't see the Tadpole beef, go check it out. But yeah, other than that, some pretty interesting results. The big thing with Wild as well is apparently Emil was in a car accident. It feels really bad for him, but Coach Billy did step in and actually provided some decent results. So taking a look at top 16 all at once makes it nice and easy. Top teams continue to be the top teams. K-Corp and BDS arguably, with Vitality and Mates just behind. The only losses being suffered by those teams are the teams that they are fighting in that 2-0 round in the high seats. So nothing crazy there. Match-wise, I think things for the most part were pretty predictable. I think we saw the continued top teams to be the continued top teams. All of our top 8 that we assumed are the top 8. The only one that was a little bit we weren't sure about was it going to be Resolve? Was it going to be Endpoint or Team 3 or whoever? Team 3 was good to see them provide some good offense. We talked about how Noah was going to bring some much needed there, and it did show up. We hoped for the George team because we do have some familiar names on there. I think one of them, I think Hibbs, actually ended up reaching out to me, and we might be doing team streams for them moving forward if they continue to qualify. Hopefully so. So maybe we'll see that in the future on the stream here. Twitch.tv/Lawler. Come hang out with us. But a chance there as well. But overall, I would say things went as expected, even with the new changes and stuff. And I'm apologize because you guys probably can't see the names of the teams all that great, but I would say overall things pretty standard. Like, I don't think anything went too chaotically. The only thing that you see differently is between these rosters, who would win and move it forward first, between being 3-0 or 3-1, and then the teams that have made consistent top 8 made consistent top 8. Difference with Oxygen though is I think Oxygen with the new roster trying to find their footing was a little bit weird. Luna definitely showcased that, hey, even with a Chronic, we have the opportunity to really assert offense if things are going well. But I think as Oxygen gets more reps, they're going to look better and better, which they did. If we jump straight into the playoffs, it's pretty straightforward. But a crazy stat for you all. Oxygen and K-Corp started off the day, and results-wise, obviously a fight. K-Corp, I don't think was as assertive as they would like to be, because I'll call it what it is. Oxygen doesn't look fluid. They don't look like they are moving intelligently, I guess is the best way to say it. But because of that, they're tough to read and they're very chaotic. They're aggressive to challenges. They get in your face and disrupt. And not even with demos, just with off-ball plays at times. But Joyo has brought that offense that I touted about. I mentioned that I'm very excited to see what Joyo and Oski together can do. I could watch that all day. It's absolutely fantastic. Archie has taken a very much so selfless role in his approach and has just enabled them. There's times where he comes assertive and creates some opportunities, but for the most part, it's just letting those two cook. Joyo had an MVP caliber performance this weekend. Played extremely well. So well, in fact, that it was enough to beat K-Corp, who many tout still is the number 1, number 2 team in Europe. So it was really awesome to see something different, as people are saying in chat as well. The stat that is crazy, and it comes from Direct as always. Oxygen held K-Corp scoreless for the final 16 minutes and 46 seconds of the series, the longest they've been shut out all season. And because Oxygen stops KC from making it to the semifinals, which is Championship Sunday, K-Corp's EU RLCS record of 21 straight series victories is at an end, and it also ends Vatira's Championship Sunday streak of 26. Put that into perspective. Obviously, they won all of the events in the first major. So major qualifier 1, 2, 3. They won everything. But before that, Vatira has made 26 championship Sundays in a row. Oxygen, as I tweeted out, I think there is a lot of things to be excited about. I think ultimately with Oxygen, and what did I say specifically? No matter the end result, I'm rather impressed with how well Oxygen is handling the Gentlemates challenge game, who they played next, jumping a little bit of gun. Yesterday, they didn't look all that fluid, but they're surely gaining polish. And I think that's kind of the thing to take away from Oxygen already in the quarterfinals is they are fully capable. They have the offense. And for the first time in what feels like a long time, there is teams that are capable of beating the top 4 French teams in Europe, which is only going to make those teams stronger, which is scary to see. Outside of that, Gentlemates, I think, has arguably the best challenge game in the world right now. I think their midfield pressure is incredible. The vision that they have, both on ball and off ball, is incredible. And what I mean by that is their ability to find each other and open space. They're very familiar with understanding what they can and can't accomplish based upon what's in front of them. If I have a player who's challenging me, do I hold that and buy for time? Do I force a low 50? Do I go high? Do I play that infield? How do I want to play this? They do a really good job of assessing that information immediately. And Itachi, if you don't watch Itachi's 50-50 game, you should. I was talking to Chrome a little bit about it off stream. And like, it's after finally like hyper focusing on it's incredible. Like the way that boy understands how to challenge the ball and set up his teammates is probably the best in the world. It's absolutely insane. I've always known Itachi for being kind of that methodical, like I'm going to set up and create opportunities for my team, even though he has the mechanics to take it solo, which I think he did a little bit too much on his last team. But yeah, Itachi's a freak, and he's been doing it since season 3. So wild stuff. Resolve beating BDS was kind of a weird one. I don't know what's going on with BDS. I don't know if they just don't feel confident. This one basically felt like Resolve was beating them up while they didn't feel like playing. And then Drawley decided to wake up and smack the ever-living crap out of them in those last 3. I think he had a hat trick in both of these games. Yeah, eventually came down to the wire. I think for Resolve, obviously, pulling a redemption team that has consistently made top 8 is great. Adding Raziers on there might provide a little bit more congruency. Maybe the vibes or the chemistry is a little bit better. They're also boot camping, which can also be very, very helpful. But outside of that, I think overall, it's still very weird to me that Resolve won this. Like, I by no means think that Redemption was a bad team. I just didn't ever feel confident in them winning a quarterfinal against some of the top teams. The fact that they did that is great, and maybe Raziers for Astral is the upgrade they're looking for. But ultimately, it just makes the run for the major even more exciting. So congrats to them winning a close game 7. BDS did look a little bit flat, though. I would like to see them look more like they looked in these matches. But it took them a long time to make that adjustment. And eventually, 4 in a row for a reverse sweep is just too much. And then Vitality made absolute fools of Jobless. That was a speed run. It went really, really fast. Vitality, you looked like they were sipping on something special. They had the juice going into the weekend. Vitality seems like they have really put their ducks in rows. It felt like it was their weekend to win. Outside of that, then we got Vitality and Resolve, and you got more of the same. They held them to literally 2 goals in the entire series.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
And while it wasn't anything too crazy, Vitality just overwhelmed. And that's like, this result is what I expected here. I'm glad that it didn't happen because we finally got some different results and some parity in the semifinals. But yeah, Vitality made quick work. Alpha 54 continues to be that guy. It's very exciting to see between ceiling touches that he's taking and like pre-jumping off the side. Like Alpha, when he's allowed to just cook, is amazing, and it just makes Zen even more viable as an option when he doesn't have to do everything and like power through like he did against G2 at the major. So yeah, Vitality looked really, really good. Best series of the weekend, in my opinion. Oxygen and Mates was a absolute battle, back and forth, multiple OTs, 1-goal games galore. You got to see, and where my tweet comes from, Gentlemates, who controls the midfield really well. They do a really good job of buying for time and, like I said, identifying when they should and shouldn't do stuff based upon delayed 50s or challenges, or, you know, hey, we need to rotate back, so I'm going to play this a little bit slow so you have time to get back, look for a demo on rotation, so on and so forth. Versus Oxygen, who plays a very chaotic game. They're going to challenge everything. They're going to be in your face. They're going to make you work for it. And most teams against a team that's consistent as Mates fail in that regard. And by all means, Oxygen did, but the way they went about failing was, it was just a pleasure to watch. It was a really, really good series. I put it out as well. I could literally watch Joyo and Oski just go. I could sit those two play, watch those two play. I don't care who the third is supporting it. By all means, Archie did a good job. I will say at the tail end, Archie really started to taper off. But it also goes to show, even though Archie isn't the high flying, the one doing all the mechanics and scoring all the goals, he is still a pivotal part to the team's success. He needs to be in a consistent level to set them up, buy for time, do all the fundamentals very well for them to be successful. And I think Archie kind of tailed off a little bit here, which means the other ones weren't as successful as they could have been. But that's the difficulty of playing a team like Mates. You saw it in the major, the amount of games that Mates take to 1-goal games because they play consistent and they wear you down. It's reminiscent of what KC and Vitality and all the teams back when they were dominant used to do. They just overwhelmed you so much. It didn't matter how much offense or defense you played. It didn't matter how great you played on one of those roles. Eventually, they found a way to get a goal, and they just broke you down. So Mates is what feels like a new generation of that. They look so good, and it's good to see them perform the way they did after we had a 2-3 week break from the major. So congrats to Gentlemates back to back. I think they're just trying to solidify themselves as the top spot in EU, and grand finals after that major performance is a good way to get that nod. Last but not least, we then had on Championship Sunday the grand final between Vitality and Alpine with the Gentlemates. And yeah, close games, but Vitality a little bit too much offense. As I mentioned back here, it looked like it was Vitality's run. It looked like it was their turn to take it. I think it's interesting because Vitality recently also brought in a mental coach. They've got a new mental coach. Ferry is starting to get his chops with coaching as well. I talked about this early last split as well, where this is Vitality's first time they've had to learn how to lose, where they won everything. They won 5 events in a row with Zen. They lost. It was going to take some time to make adjustments and figure out what is the strategy that we've been using no longer viable. We need to make adjustments and find ways to build and beat the current team that is going on. Vitality seems like they're finally putting that stuff in motion. Ferry Peak, like I said, is earning his pay, and the new mental coach hopefully balancing it all out. So good for Vitality, man. It just goes to show it's not a one-horse race. It's not just KC. It's not just BDS. It's not just one team in Europe. Which should terrify everybody in North America that EU's getting even stronger. So great Regional 4. Lots of things to discuss when it comes to Regional 5 or Qualifier 5, simply because that's when we get to see, by the tail end of Qualifier 5, which teams are basically out of the running for the World Championship, which ones are done for the Major, and how that stuff all applies. Because based upon eliminations, when you're outside of those point areas, it's going to be a lot of math for Direct, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. But a lot of things and a lot of seasons on the line next split. We'll be talking about NA next time as well, so make sure if you guys want to make sure you don't miss out on that, like, subscribe, notifications, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.